boring. And I was really thankful that God changed that whenever I started studying it and looking at it, because it's not boring and it is so important. Yeah. So tonight's lesson is called Sponsor. Why do I need a sponsor/accountability partner? There's 3 reasons. There's more than that, let's be honest. But there's 3 main reasons. The first one is that it is biblical. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says that 2 are better than 1, for they have a good and more satisfying reward for their labor. If they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him who falls and has not another person to lift him up. Again, if 2 lie together, they have warmth, but how can one be warm alone? And though a man might prevail against him who is alone, 2 will withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Having a sponsor and accountability partners, I like partners better than partner, because so many people can offer so many things in your life as far as accountability is concerned. It's a key part of your recovery program, and there's 4 key elements to success for that. The first one is be completely honest as you work each step. And I will probably say this until I am dead. There's a difference between honesty and transparency. Honesty is when someone goes up to you and says, "Hey, Kayla, did you do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did that." Transparency is walking up to that person and saying, "Hey, I did this. You don't even know about it yet, but I did that." I love honesty, but transparency is like the goal. And God sees through us anyway, so you might as well just be transparent. Attending recovery meetings a priority. When we were lost and broken and addicted and everything else, we made every attempt to feed our addiction, putting everything else aside to meet our needs. And we have to treat our recovery the same way. 3, prayer, meditation, and studying of His Word. All of this is great, but if you're not praying, you're not talking to the Lord, you're not reading His Word, you're not meditating on His Word and on the good things that He has done, and doing that daily inventory, it makes everything else a little bit harder, I feel like, if that makes sense. Things just become more difficult to do. Serve. I put that in capital letters. You can't see it, but I put it in capital letters. And I generally don't stick with what is in here because it's a little hokey sometimes. But one thing that they put in there that I really liked, it said that service is love in work clothes. And I was like, man, ain't that the truth? Like, you think about, and immediately I thought of, Habitat for Humanity. I thought of food drives for people who are hungry. I thought about homeless shelters. That is love dressed in work clothes. And wow. And that just really, really spoke to me in a different way this time around. Being a sponsor or an accountability partner is a huge way to serve and love on others, but there are so many moving parts to this ministry, guys. We're not huge, but there's still so much service that is needed to make this thing happen. And not one person does it. I don't do it, Jerry doesn't do it, Steph doesn't do it, they don't make it happen. So many people make it happen. So we need people that put on the clothing of love by serving others. The third reason that we need an accountability partner and or sponsor is having accountability partners and sponsors is the best guard against relapse. Ecclesiastes 7:5 says, "It is better for a person to hear the rebuke of the wise than to hear the song of fools." They provide feedback that keeps you on track. You might not always like what they have to say and what you hear. Be prepared to be confronted with the things that you may not see about yourself that you don't really want to know. Medicine doesn't always taste good to us, but it is always good for us. What are the good qualities of a sponsor accountability partner? They listed so many in there, so I'm just going to kind of rattle those off. Does their walk match their talk? And I'm not talking about perfection here. I'm not saying like, oh, they gotta like be the perfect Christian and like never cuss and never do this and never do that. They can't smoke. They can't do this. But are they growing? Or is that something that you're seeing? Does their walk match their talk? Do they have a growing relationship with Jesus? When you are looking for an accountability partner or a sponsor, you want someone who, no matter what, regardless of everything else, leads you to the cross. You want that person to lead you to Jesus, no matter what the situation is. We all want, advice and different things like that, but at the end of the day, you want to surround yourself with people who lead you to Jesus. Do they desire to help others on their road to recovery? Do they show compassion, care, and hope, but not pity? Are they a good listener? Are they strong enough to confront your denial or your procrastination? Do they offer suggestions? Can they share their own current struggles with others? That's kind of goes back to what I was talking about with perfection. We're not looking for perfection with a sponsor, but we're also not looking for someone who acts like they're perfect. You need somebody who's going to be just as honest with you and transparent with you as you are with them. Anybody who ain't got no problems is a liar. Just saying. They're available. Do they offer suggestions? Can they share their own current struggles? What is the role of a sponsor? I feel like sponsor and accountability partner can kind of like crisscross, you know what I mean? Like, what's the difference? What's what? So we're going to kind of go into what each job is. Your sponsor is someone that you're going to talk to about the things that you may not feel comfortable sharing in a large group of people. Ours are small groups, or even with just most people. And that's why you need to find somebody that you feel connected with, that you feel like is trustworthy, that you can give that information to. They're available during times of crisis or potential relapse. They encourage you to work principles at your own speed and attempt to model the lifestyle that results from working the 8 principles. A sponsor can quit or be fired, and it ain't like, you're fired. Not like Trump. Remember that show? Sorry, I'm old. Not every sponsor or sponsee relationship is a right fit. You may think, oh, this will be great. I want her to be my sponsor. I want him to be my sponsor. And sometimes it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's fine. It's not a lifetime position. You don't like sign a contract in blood or anything. Like, it's cool if you just don't, if it doesn't work out. It's so fine. And I want to mention whenever I've just said they're available during times of crisis or potential relapse. So this is where I feel like it's so important to have both. It is so important to have a sponsor and accountability partners, because I know for me, I work 50 hours a week at my job. I could be in the middle of a really busy shift and a sponsee calls me and like literally about to do drugs, and I won't be able to answer. And that's why it's so important to find both, because if I can't answer, call your accountability partners, call the other people on your team if your sponsor can't answer. How do I find a sponsor or accountability partner, Kayla? I will tell you. Sorry, I'm in a really funny mood today. Number one, this is the number one rule about sponsors. They have to be the same gender. Number one, have to be. The second thing, and I think that this is something that I've noticed over the last few months that, like, honestly breaks my heart, but if you want to find a sponsor, you want to find support, you want to find people who you're going to connect with, you have to come to small groups. You have to come to the cookouts. You have to come to the dinners. You've got to come to the Crosstalk Cafe. Like, don't walk around here and be like, man, I don't have any support, and gosh, I just feel so alone, and this and that. And like every time big group's over, you're like, okay, bye. Like, no wonder you don't feel like you have any support. You don't have anybody to talk to because you won't stay and connect with anybody. And I'm not trying to condemn anybody, but like, that's how it happens. You have to step out of that comfort zone and be like, I'm going to stay for small group today. I'm going to go to the cookout even though I don't really want to. I'm going to go to the dinner even though I don't really feel comfortable with that. That's how it happens. So those are the places that you're going to find a sponsor and accountability partners. And of course, whenever it comes to any relationship that you're going to get in depth with anybody, whether it be boyfriend, girlfriend, sponsor, therapist, whatever, you need to ask God about it. He will guide you to the right person. If a person says no, it isn't personal. I don't have a lot of people ask me to be their sponsor. I'm not offended. But I almost always say no because, like I said, I do work 50 hours a week and I'm not very available to people. Generally speaking, I'm just not available to a lot of people. I love being an accountability partner, though. So if a person says no, please do not take it personal. It's not a personal thing. Remember that we all are here to find recovery, and everyone has to focus on their recovery first as well. So if they don't have that time, their plates are just too full, remember that they've also got a recovery to work themselves. So the difference between the two, I hope we've kind of went over that for the most part as far as jobs and different things. But a sponsor is someone, there is a couple of things that they have to do before they can become a sponsor. A sponsor is someone who has completed a 12-step study and worked through the 8 principles and meets the requirements that we just talked about. So with that being said, everybody who has completed a 12-step study, can you stand for the rest of the folks in the room that may be looking for sponsors and such right now? So these folks standing right here, they are able to be a sponsor. They've finished that. They've done the work. So if you're looking for a sponsor, sorry to point you guys out, but if you're looking for sponsors or accountability partners, these are great folks to ask, to talk to. Accountability partners are those you've asked to hold you accountable in certain areas of your life. So like if you need somebody to be like, hey, did you read your Bible today? Hey, are you coming to CR tonight? Hey, did you do your step work? That's the kind of stuff that accountability partners are for. They're just here to help you stay on track in a sense, I hope that kind of clicks. The accountability partners are the team. The sponsor is the coach. I was like, ooh, that's a really good way to put that. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I added some decor to the church this evening. I know. I think I might leave it here. I think they'd be upset. So I like to use props because it always kind of engaged my mind whenever people did that. Anytime I was sitting out and people were doing a lesson. So anyway, there's this humongous tire right here. Malachi actually was like, did that come off a monster truck? And I was like, yeah, dude. But anyway, so he cracks me up. So this tire represents my hurts, my habits, my bad things, all the dirty, disgusting things that I hold on to that the enemy tries to use against me, all the things that I have yet to take care of in my recovery. And I'm not saying I'm weak physically, but I could, in theory, actually not in theory, I could pick this up. I could pick it up. I don't know if you could tell that was a little difficult for me. I could pick that up and I can move it around with me and stuff and, whatever. But I tell you what, if Raven and Marissa and Sarah and Nia, if they come down here and they help me, I would almost guess that we could not only flip it over, but we could probably carry it over.